This is the Chatter Squadron Weekly News Roundup, the best source for Star Wars news in the galaxy. Chewie, get the holonet up and running again. We don't want to miss the show.
I'm gonna scoot on in here. Oh, hey there. It's the Weekly News Roundup with Mike and Tyler.
Hey, guys.
Oh my gosh, I'm Mike. That's Tyler, and we are Chatter Squadron, your weekly dose of Star Wars fun and positivity. Why would I say it so sinister like that?
I think you know, and we'll get to that in a little bit here in the news. But this is the Weekly News Roundup, where we round up the news for the week. And it's mostly Star Wars news, believe it or not.
Yeah, it's not going to be stuff like world politics. Although we could talk about that, it would just be very ignorant.
Yeah.
No, we're just going to be talking about Star Wars news this week. And the biggest story, as far as today is,
Right.
is the release as of today. You should be in line at the store. I don't know which store because you have
The internet store.
The internet store for Cavan Scott's Dooku Jedi Lost audio drama that is available right now. It was available at midnight, which, I mean, this video didn't come out then, but still.
I was going to ask if you were the one saying it's released. So
yeah, I am announcing it's released.
Until you said it's released right now, it wasn't released.
You're right. I was the supreme commander of its release.
Wow. Okay.
So you're welcome, Kevin Scott. You can all now purchase it with my benevolence.
But we're going to talk a little bit about that and his obsession with Count Dooku.
Yeah. He's out there buying a lot of Dooku related stuff now that he's written a book about him.
He's buying it?
Yeah, he's like buying memorabilia and stuff. Yeah, it's a fun little interview.
That's not just in his contract. Yes,
you think that? Yeah. Oh, by the way, you have to start buying all this merchandise. No,
I meant part of his salary was Dooku merchandise.
They paid him in Dooku merch.
You come to his house, he has Dooku slippers on.
They may as well have
mug.
because of all the things that he's purchased. He hasn't really made a list of them, but he did. He in his interview with StarWars.com, it was a funny story. He opened it with saying, "Yes, I got a bunch of packages, and my wife opened the door and just called into the house. Is this more Dooku stuff?" And he went, "Yes, of course it is." Then we're going to be talking about a story that developed on Twitter, unfortunately, over the last week, in which Mark Hamill tweeted a picture of old Han, Leia, Lando, and Luke together in the Millennium Falcon cockpit again.
That's right. This is breaking huge news, everybody.
Yeah,
tweets.
Yeah, exactly. Tweets. I mean, well, it is from Mark Hamill, and Mark Hamill likes to, churn the butter. Then we're going to be talking about...
I wonder if he does churn butter, though.
He's had to at least once in one of his roles, right?
Okay.
Well, roles, they need butter. Anyway.
Keep talking about the next one. I'm going to see if he actually has done it.
Okay. Ian McDermott, in a previous conversation with George the Lucas... of the Lucas, did he possibly confirm Palpatine's fate? And we'll get more on. We'll get to the exact quote later in the show. And of course, we're going to be going over This Week in Star Wars History, brought to you by the Battlefront.
But before we get to one of the other pieces of business we have, no, he hasn't churned butter in a roll.
Oh well, that's a shame.
He has probably put butter on a roll, like you said.
Oh, you know what? That is the other alternative that I had.
But something exciting that's going to be happening. We got to see a bunch of people in real life in Chicago. A bunch of great fans of ours, like Daniel Soder and Rick Villanueva, among many others.
Yeah.
Which was really fun to see. But if you want to try and beat us at Star Wars Trivia, we're going to be at the Barley House in Akron for the May the 4th Star Wars Trivia. And we're the ones to beat because let me put it this way. We came, just Johnny and I, just the two of us, came in third out of 40, 50-some people.
Wow.
Just us. The people that beat us before was Josh Witzman, former guest of the show.
Honorable guest.
He won that year, but
along with his pal,
with David
Cavalier.
But they're not going to make it this time.
Oh, what a shame!
Yeah,
what a shame. Josh and David.
A severed horse head in the bed will do that to you. But they're not making it there. So now we are the ones Oh, I should have told you that off
Did you
screen.
godfather them to get them not to come to the
Oh, that's my favorite verb.
to godfather someone? Yeah,
I
right.
godfathered them.
See, to godfather someone actually has a few definitions. Like you could either go get a gun that was in the toilet and shoot someone at their dinner table. That's to godfather someone.
I don't know.
Or put a horse's head in
I
their
think
bed.
it's just the horse's head.
Oh, okay.
But listen to the end of the show where we will talk a little bit more about that trivia.
Yeah, if you're an Akron or possibly just an Ohio native and you listen to our show and you want to come compete against us with Star Wars trivia, we dare you.
Don't tell me beforehand because something might wind up in your bed. All right, first.
Don't tell me. Don't tell him. He's gone a little off
What's
the
that
handle.
first story?
Let's talk about it. Kevin Scott talks about his upcoming audio drama, Dooku, Jedi Lost, available today, and we're going to talk about his interview he did with StarWars.com. Not only is this a big deal because the expansion of the backstory of Dooku was served relatively well by the Clone Wars, but it didn't do a lot, the series. Didn't do a lot for those who wanted information on things like the relationship between Dooku and Qui-Gon Jinn, or his relationship with Asajj before they had a master-apprentice relationship. So,
Or even Dooku's relationship with the Jedi Order
in
itself,
general, yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean,
it's so mysterious.
We still got a little bit of the we used to blah 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 type thing, but he didn't really go back.
Right,
in
and we
time.
know that Yoda was his former master, which is a huge thing. So in his interview, Kevin Scott has a lot to say about the relationships featured in his upcoming audio drama, Dooku, Jedi Lost. So here's how he describes the characters he's gotten to explore in his interview done on StarWars.com. He's first asked about Asajj's perspective because the story is told, or the main plot, excuse me, is told from Asajj's point of view,
basically
as
through her eyes.
Yeah, as she investigates Dooku's sister's disappearance. So that's not a spoiler, that's just the setup for the main story. So Kevin Scott says, in doing this, she starts discovering stories of Dooku and his sister from when they were very young. We find out that Dooku, even though he joined the Jedi Temple at a very early age, still kept in touch with his family. Indeed, Ventress learns about her new master, so will we. We meet his family, Kevin Scott says. We meet his father, we meet his sister, we meet his brother. We go from him being a Padawan in the temple right through to the moment he tells the council that he is leaving. So it's his entire life, which is, I mean, that's more than we could have asked for. We could have gotten just like a little bit, but I mean, if we're going to get his whole life, that's, first of all, a huge undertaking, and he says something about that. Dooku's mysterious past allowed Scott to explore things like Dooku's second apprentice, which we don't hear a lot about, and his prominent, who is a prominent character in Claudia Gray's book,
Which is
Master and Apprentice.
Yeah, which
is available now.
That has already come out, and I believe we had talked about on the show before that these books kind of beck and call to each other.
They
in a
have
way
to,
that there's a lot of themes that come about in both of these books. So if you've read Master and Apprentice, good on ya.
In Jedi Lost, this is Kevin Scott speaking again. In Jedi Lost, we see him with Dooku and Qui-Gon as well. We're talking about Averross, Dooku's second apprentice after Qui-Gon. So there's a relationship between Qui-Gon and Averross. He also said some things in the end of the interview that could change your perspective on the characters without having heard it yet. I said read it yet, but it's not an audiobook. Or it's not a book. It's just an audio drama.
Yep.
Okay, so whereas, this is Kevin Scott speaking again, whereas Anakin was always saddled with being the chosen one, Dooku wants to be the chosen one. Right from the off, he thinks he's better than everyone, and perhaps his ambition and arrogance doesn't go unnoticed.
Let me put it this
Go ahead.
way. I kind of think he is a lot better than most.
He is. The only curse is that he knows it.
The thing I feel is Dooku might have been a better chosen one. That's neither here nor there.
He might have been a better chosen one.
Yeah.
He's so easily corruptible, though.
I don't know if he was super easily corruptible. He saw through the lies of the Jedi. But no, his concerns
eyes, the Jedi are evil.
His concerns with the Jedi Order were pretty sound, though. They weren't just like
No,
nowhere.
it's not like he had this animosity going
And
into
besides, I think Anakin might be a little bit more easily corruptible
Why? Just because he's an idiot?
Just because he's kind of an idiot, and the way he did turn was Dooku or Sidious basically just being like, well, come on.
Yeah.
And Anakin's like,
Come on, you stinker. And then he goes,
Boing.
fine, I'll help you out.
I'll join you. Yeah.
You're right. Dooku probably thought for a long time that he was outsmarting the Emperor, or was just in such favor that he was like safe.
Right.
You know, he's not going to get another apprentice. I'm too good. I've beaten these guys a bunch of times.
Right.
So yeah, you're right. maybe. But
just putting it out there. Talk about controversial statements.
Well, you're not the only one that thinks that Dooku was special, because Pablo Hidalgo, another writer for the Star Wars story group, pointed out that Yoda taking a Padawan is huge, and it would be huge amongst the Jedi Order. There would be a reason that Yoda wanted to take him, and while it's not quite the tale of his seduction by Darth Sidious, this book, it looms large. The dark side plays a part throughout, Scott says, because I think there's always that in his nature.
I just want to say quickly, because I'm sure someone out there will be thinking this as well. You said Joda at one point.
I said
instead of
Yoda?
Yes.
It's, I'm just, from South America, so sometimes my Y's turn into J's.
Oh, really? I never knew that about you.
I'm just making stuff up.
And then they talked a little bit more about Asajj.
Yeah,
correct?
well, Asajj is, of course, the one whose perspective we see. A final note on her. She's at a quite difficult point in her life. She's been a slave. She's seen her master die. And then she basically goes into another form of servitude, willingly to a certain degree. She's not quite the Ventress we knew from later on. Scott, who worked on to define Ventress's thinking at this time, her desire to be christened as a Sith, and her feelings of not completing her Jedi path. It's called Jedi Lost, but it's not just about Dooku. I love that. That's a great end quote.
And now they did put a little excerpt out online, correct?
They did. In addition to this interview, they released a different page on StarWars.com of a 3-minute excerpt of the book, and it is the moment Dooku discovers that his sister's missing and he needs to send Asajj on this mission. And I like what we see in that clip, because what we hear is Asajj's inner thoughts, and she is not completely trusting of Dooku.
Right.
And I think that's something we don't really get to see in the relationship of Sith in the movies, because you don't have like the inner perspective usually. They're supposed to be like kept mysterious. But in reality, they're people with thoughts too.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there were times when Maul questioned the Emperor's plans, and there were times when Asajj clearly questioned Dooku's plans.
I like how he put in there of Asajj wanting to be christened a Sith, because the first time we see her was in the Samurai Jack style Clone Wars cartoon back in the day.
Yeah.
And one of the first things she does in that show is say that she's a Sith to Dooku, and Dooku laughs at her and then electrocutes her. But basically, I like that, because it is a kind of continuation of that plot line that's always been there for her, which is she wants to be the most powerful, and she thinks she is.
And one could argue that she simply wants to belong. Like,
Right.
she has no title anywhere. She's been a slave. She's been an apprentice. She didn't even know what that meant until it was thrust upon her that she
Right.
is this force-sensitive creature.
Like a Sith assassin, a part of the Night Sisters, then a rogue,
We
a
kind of
mercenary, and
And I think it's important that the Clone War to watch the Clone Wars episodes that feature her independence, because as far as we know, that's her first time discovering herself as a person.
Right.
Like, every other instance of her life has been her father getting killed, or her family getting killed, so she's just a child, going into the servitude of the Jedi, which is just another like form of I don't want to say servitude again, but it's just another form of someone telling her who she is.
Right.
And then we finally, as an adult, we see her explore her own like wants and desires. So I think those are great episodes to rewatch. You can't watch them on Netflix,
Now
but you can watch them elsewhere.
soon on Disney Plus. Now this is an audio experience. This book, didn't we do something like that?
We sure did, friend. We did the first chapter of our audio drama called The Night Shift.
And the night shift follows the night shift workers of the cantina after the heroes pay it a visit in A New Hope. And what's the name of that episode that the night shift came out on?
The 1 year anniversary show.
Okay.
Which is also episode 53.
Yes.
But yeah, you can go on our website, on our Libsyn page, or you can just find it on iTunes or wherever you listen, and find the anniversary show, and you can re-listen to that. If you haven't heard it already, you can listen to it for the first time.
You know, I might just say it's pretty good.
It is pretty good. It's fun. It's about 5 minutes long, so it's not going to be nearly as long as Dooku Jedi Lost, which we still don't know how long that's going to be.
We were close.
Just imagine. Okay, so let's take a guess. It's out today, so you guys already know, but I'm going to guess because we recorded this over the weekend that it's going to be 10 hours.
15 hours.
15 hours. Okay,
Right.
cool. I mean, it's the entirety of
Life savings.
Oh yeah, life savings. Sorry, my hands are so cold. All right, let's move on to our next story. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but there is some clarification that needs to happen. Mark Hamill
Yep.
is out there tweeting away, and people are up in arms.
I mean, Mark Hamill tweets a lot.
He does tweet a lot, and he is Luke Skywalker, so it makes sense that people will pay attention to him, and some of the things he'll say, some might misconstrue, and some might misunderstand.
My question is his robotic hand able to
no way. He has to
touch
do,
screen?
It's definitely one-handed. He has to do one-handed. He can't.
Does he have a flip phone? T9?
No, I'm saying he's trying to do it one-handed because maybe he could hold it with his robot
Way
hand.
to date yourself, Tyler, talking about T9 texting.
No, I think. Well, actually, no. You're right. Very young listeners will not even
We'll
understand.
have
what
no
that means.
clue what T9 is.
No one even gets that.
But no, so he put out a picture, and it's a Photoshop picture of Leia, Luke, Han, Chewie, correct?
No, it's Lando.
Oh,
Chewie's
Lando.
not even seen.
Oh, come on, talk about a missed opportunity. But it's those
That is what some people said.
those older people in the cockpit of the Falcon.
They're all in current costume, as
Right.
in like The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi.
The Last
version.
Jedi, and of course Lando and
Tross,
Rise of Skywalker, with the hashtag missed opportunities. So what's kind of happened from there is it's caused a storm of people having this back and forth conversation about, yes, this is a missed opportunity, or no, that's not what he meant by this, or whatever else it might be. But it has kind of caused a big, I'm going to use a word here,
Sure.
kerfuffle.
It has caused a kerfuffle.
God bless you.
There's the parties that be that are saying this proves Mark Hamill dislikes the current story or something, and then there's people saying, oh, since it confirms he dislikes the current story, then he must be unhappy, and this is his way of throwing a tantrum. Or both of those you can ignore.
Right.
We don't know why he did this besides his own explanation.
Right. And what did he say?
He said, hey, I saw a picture of me and my friends, and I missed them. So I posted this as a form of respecting my friends. And that's not a direct quote.
Right.
He had a follow-up tweet where he explains that this had zero ulterior motives. This was just, hey, what if we were able to get back into the cockpit together, the four of us, the dream team? That would have been cool. He didn't leave a manifesto of, hey, I'm dissatisfied with this new trilogy, and I think it should have been this way, and I am important. No, not at all.
Well, something I was saying about this was, it happens often, not just in the Star Wars community, but in any fandom, where we've been having this conversation for months, even years at this point, of wouldn't it have been cooler if, they all got back to whatever.
I mean,
and then,
we had
something like this comes about, and it starts that conversation all over again. And it basically people start talking about it like it's a new thing. Like, yeah, it would have been better. It's like, no, we've been saying
we've
like
spun through
that was
this.
on the table, but it didn't go that way. Like we've talked about this for a while, and it just sometimes when someone says something, especially someone prominent like Mark, it just makes people jump in and be like, you know what, that is a good idea, or that no, you shouldn't say that. And it's like, but we've been talking about this for a while. That's my whole thing. It's just like, I feel like everybody had their 2 cents about that issue months ago.
I wish we were living in a situation where someone like Mark could be like disappointed with the direction that the series went, and he could share his opinion with something as innocuous as a picture of the 4 of them.
Right.
And people could be like, you know what, I can see where he's coming from, but you know what, I'm happy with what we got. I kind of wish that was the world we were in, where people could say something, even if it was intended to be inflammatory, and people could just be like, well, you know, I'm not. That's not what I would want. And then people that did want it would be like, I see what you're talking about, but that's not even when things aren't intended to have any ulterior motive, people are projecting intent onto things like Mark Hamill's tweets or follow-up tweets. Thank goodness Billy D tweeted in and stepped in, and he says like, Mark, you always been a guy to twist, get everyone's panties in a twist. He said something like that. Twist everyone's nerves. And then everything was ready. Everything was washed over. So thank goodness.
Right.
But can we not have knee-jerk reactions? That's what I want.
And that's kind of my point with us already having this conversation for a while. It's just, it's turned a conversation we've been having into a knee-jerk reaction all over again just because somebody tweeted something.
You're right. All right, cool. Let's talk about Ian McDiarmid.
Yes. According to Polygon, McDiarmid told fans during a separate panel interview that he showed up on stage. He showed up on stage for the episode 9 panel because he happened to be in the area. He continued, so I thought I would just drop in for a laugh, says Ian.
Having a laugh.
I'm just having a laugh. He later recalled conversations he had with Star Wars director and creator George Lucas regarding Palpatine's fate. He didn't specify when this was, but I'm kind to towards the end of Return of the Jedi. I don't...
Either that or perhaps the beginning of not the new trilogy, the prequel trilogy, because he did return.
Right, but my only concern with that is... well, not concern, but going against that is the way this reads. It does kind of seem like Ian straight up asking, like, "Hey,
what happens
this
next?
just happened.
Sure.
Now what happens next?"
Gotcha.
Would you like to read what
Yeah, sure.
Ian said, and then we'll have George Lucas himself answer?
In the conversation, McDiarmid said, "Is he?" And before he could even finish the sentence, Lucas replied, "Dead? Yes."
Oh,
Sorry.
oh my gosh. Dead? Yeah. Yes.
Well, couldn't he perhaps?
No, he's dead.
Well, wouldn't it be interesting if?
Forget it.
Okay, then I guess that's how it. That's how the cookie crumbles.
Would you like any Count Dooku merchandise to make you feel better?
I would love some, actually.
I haven't invented this character yet.
This one doesn't have any hands or a head, so
We're working on it. We don't know who's going to play him.
but we know how it's gonna end up.
Yeah, exactly.
He's gonna look like that.
Pretty cool, huh?
I love it. But
Got
is
a
my
little-
character gonna come back?
He's got a little curved laser sword. Who? Your character. Who are you? Do you want to play Dooku?
I was being Ian McDiarmid again.
Oh, okay, I see. So yeah, basically the conversation that's been happening online is, are we going to see the Emperor alive, or is he going to be a Force ghost in the Tross, Rise of Skywalker? I don't know
no doubt for
exactly
me
what
it's
it's
a
going
ghost.
to be, because there's a lot of options, and I'm going to read some comments that people, because I put out a questions thread, from what other people might have said, but there's pre-recorded message. I don't think it's going to happen. Clone. I don't think it's going to happen. But then like that, you have him still being alive, which I don't think is going to happen, or him being a ghost, which I do happen to believe will be the case. We discussed that with the Tatooine Sons when we did our breakdown of the trailer, teaser with them at Star Wars Celebration, and they brought it up on their show as well, of that type of thing of once again, like we said, we don't want it to be a haunted mansion type thing with a bunch of Force ghosts, because a lot of characters we've been talking about, like Anakin and Luke and Yoda and Obi-Wan, like they can all come back too, and it's like, yeah, but then it's just gonna be a full house but with ghosts.
It could be. There's two possibilities, and we'll get to the people's comments, but there's two possibilities I've thought about recently. What if we finally see the introduction of holocrons to the main movies?
Right.
Because we're going to the crash site of one of the Death Stars, most likely the one in which the Emperor was killed, because that makes the most sense. Or here's something: what if we do have a Haunted Mansion-esque scene in which Rey travels to a different realm, just like a Force, I don't know, anything, where she sees them all,
right,
and has to have some sort of, I don't know, psychological battle with them.
Ooh, play chess.
With death.
Space chess. Well,
space chess with death.
Dejarik. So here, I put the question out there. Do you think the Emperor will be a ghost or alive in The Rise of Skywalker? Fish Hector, I think this is our Facebook page, yes. He says, he better be dead, and his voice/laugh is just a memory from someone else. Otherwise, it will be the most ridiculous movie argument ever.
It would be a tough sell.
Dennis Porbaski says, Force Ghost or hologram message. Here's my issue with hologram. I would feel so gypped, man.
You feel cheated.
I would feel so gypped. And also,
Hey, don't be insulting our gypsy listeners.
I am a gypsy. Actually.
You're allowed, I know, you're allowed to use that.
But no, I would feel so like cheated. Like, are you serious? And also, why does the Emperor have just a recording of him laughing?
Right.
Is it like the doorbell? The doorbell of the Death Star.
Death Star.
Ring this.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, that was a little unsettling. And then the door opens. And
I'm not going in there.
Christian Hothmaker says alive.
Just alive. Okay, cool. I mean, no argument there, I guess. No evidence either.
Over on Star Wars News, our good old friends there, Chris Calms says holographic message.
Who's the message for?
I guess that's what we... Oh, my gosh. Sorry. Breaking news here.
Did he know he was going to die?
Elena Ferris says, please make Sheev a zombie. Please, please, please. Rock, Ghoul, Plague. Him a zombie.
That could be cool. I mean, I'm still leaning on the epic Force Ghost Barbershop Quartet.
Oh, yes. That would be great. I mean, they have a lot of time. The other Force Ghosts with him could have patched things over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And being like, wait, if we're going to be hanging out in the Nether Realms together.
And they do a whole cover of the Pet Sounds album from the Beach Boys.
Dan Navarrete, I believe, says Sith holocron. So that's someone after
there we go. Yeah,
heart.
my theory.
So does Eric Mazalik, says, I'm guessing a Sith holocron. It is strange with how much holocrons have to do with the Star Wars universe that we haven't seen them in the movie yet.
Yeah, it's almost like the movies are operating in this era that's like post mystery. You know how like we have our ancient histories that are little like mysterious, like ancient Egypt and ancient Mesopotamia, and those they're just ancient or ancient civilizations and stuff, and they've got a little bit of unknown to them. That's kind of how we're operating now. We're kind of operating going through the decades, and maybe like we've only operated in like 100-year period, and there's thousands of years before that.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff you can like cram into this old mysterious era.
I'll do 3 more here because it's the same answer. Daniel Garcia and Ethan Bennett say a clone, and then David Sanchez says clone long enough to be the right age. My
Clone long enough to be the right age.
So in the old EU, I'm sure you know, but
Yeah.
for people who don't, he had clones, the Emperor, and then he put his spirit into said clone, and he had a bunch of them. So he lived on for a while.
Star Wars confirms dualism.
My only issue with that also is why would it? Because the way the teaser lays it out, it makes you believe that he is at the crash site of the Death Star. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it shows the Death Star, then the laugh. So if we're kind of going off of that narrative, if it is a clone, what a boring life as a clone to just sit like, this is where the real me died.
Underwater?
Underwater. It's like Bioshock.
He just drowned. Oh, man. They turned the Death Star into a Rapture-esque civilization.
Hey, you heard it here
Whoa.
first, folks.
Whoa.
Confirmed.
Got anything? Oh, I was just going to say anything else people are saying online. All right, let's move on to This Week in Star Wars History. Brought to you by the Battlefront. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah. Hey, actually, you
I
know,
called him Dan.
We say that every week, but actually go check out the Battlefront on Facebook.
Yeah.
They release a lot of breaking news stories and of course keep you up to date with Battlefront if you're playing that, which I still do.
Yeah, and if you want to just have friends to talk about Star Wars with, they're always having a conversation there. All right, so the
Always.
first
Probably right now.
right this moment, April 22nd, 1977, Industrial Light and Magic concludes filming for A New Hope with a Star Destroyer shot. And it is the shot of C-3PO. Is that correct? The one shot 110P is the name of the shot. Is this the one?
I believe so.
Wow.
Where
So
they're in the escape pod looking at the Star Destroyer.
as C-3PO and R2-D2 escape, so you see the Death Star rolling around in the vision of the escape pod. That is a tough shot because they're just staring at a blue screen.
Or it might have been practical back then.
Well, I guess you're right. They could have just had a glass picture of and then just moving it around. That's
Yeah.
very true.
Or
I mean, it has to be a matte painting of some sort, but they likely had a blue screen.
almost like Star Trek, how they used to make movement happen where you just shook the camera.
That was genius. Come on. And then when they stabilized the shots, you get to see what they look like. Yeah,
And
pretty
it's
awesome.
just like this. We're going.
Yeah. Whoa. You know what's
They
impressive?
also
though?
would always fall opposite ways.
Well, actually, no. Later they got better. I was gonna say, but they would fall different ways than the camera shook sometimes. So it's like everyone is going this way, but Kirk's going this way. Which way did it tilt?
April 23rd, 2010, Boba Fett makes his Star Wars The Clone Wars debut in the second season episode Death Trap, which airs on the Cartoon Network for the first time in the U.S. You're a big fan of the Boba Fett episodes
Yes,
of The Clone
and
Wars.
up until recently, because I was watching it through without any regard to the end of seasons, and I didn't realize that the trilogy of Boba Fett was the end of season 2. It was the very last 3 episodes. What a great way to end season 2.
It's okay. Boba Fett's lame.
He's so good in these episodes. April 24th.
When you know how lame he ends up when he's grown. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. What happened in April 24th?
April 24th, 2007, Del Rey publishes The Making of Star Wars by J.W. Rinsler. And it's just a book about the definitive story behind the original film. So it's about the original making of The New Hope. And it's probably filled with pictures. I don't own this book personally,
I don't either.
but I should.
Yeah. We should. You know what?
Let's get it.
Let's go to a bookstore and be like, "Hey, do you have Dooku Jedi Lost?" And they're like,
What are you talking
this isn't an audio experience store." And I'm like, "Oh, sorry about
Dang
that." But do you have this other book?
And they'll say no.
No, that's
We are going out of business like all other bookstores.
that's also like a 12-year-old book. All right. And then April 26th, 1982, principal shooting of the Endor sequences for Return of the Jedi begin in the forests around Crescent City, California, which are known as the Redwood Forest.
How very convenient for Industrial Light and Magic and Lucasfilm being so close to such a perfect location to film.
Mm-hmm. And
I mean, it's a beautiful area.
And it's incredible. Like, you see pictures of the redwood forest, but it really does look like another planet.
It does.
Like,
yeah.
when you see a car next to one of the trees, you're like, that's not how big it is. I've never been, but I'm guessing they're actually that big. Unless this is a big cover-up this whole time.
You could hide a group of people behind one trunk. You know,
Right.
They're ridiculous. I'll be going out there to Big Sur.
Oh, yeah.
In August.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get tons of pictures, and I'm gonna fly through the trees like an Ewok. It's gonna be great.
And then slam into one after your speeder gets hit.
Well, I'm not gonna try to do that. I'm gonna go into the trees, tie up some logs, suspend them as traps for people trying to invade.
Yeah, maybe a net with some food in it.
Right.
You might catch a Wookiee and a couple heroes.
You know what's interesting about the attack on that base?
What's interesting about it?
With all of the little traps that the Ewoks created to strike the ATSTs and stuff.
Yeah.
Those were like really close to the base. It's not like they were planning an attack on the base before they made friends with the rebels.
Yeah.
So it's like they snuck in with these huge logs, set up like lanes for them to like travel it, and then walked away and then came back to the attack.
Pretty incredible, right?
They're really quiet teddy bears.
They're quiet killers, actually.
Silent but deadly.
You would think it would be better if they just snuck into the base when they were all asleep and dropped logs on them.
And rocks and such.
You see an Ewok sneaking up to like a sleeping stormtrooper. The Ewok has a knife, and then he cuts a rope and a log falls on him. It's boom. Okay. So May the 4th trivia once again, hosted by the Fun and Games Show at the Barley House in Akron. I believe it starts at 7 on May the 4th.
Tell them it starts at 9 so we get a head start.
Yeah, it's 7. It's actually May the 5th that's.
Yeah. We'll see you guys there on the Revenge of the 5th.
Isn't that interesting? But no, so like I said, there's third round prizes. You may have seen me with a mug that says I prefer my coffee on the dark side that I have on the table here. That's from last year. I won that last year.
Not a mug shot, which was taken after he was caught for embezzlement.
Yeah, that's on another mug we have. And so you're able to make teams and everything, and they explain everything that you'll have to do when you're there in order to participate, and it's being sponsored by Fatheads. But yeah, we will be there, and the ones to beat. Okay?
So says we.
So we says us, this guy, and that guy. Chatter Squadron, your weekly dose of Star Wars fun and positivity.
Yep, that's us.
Anything else?
That's all. I had nothing left to say.
Nothing else? Mm-mm. Okay. Hey, I was going to say, do you want to listen to Jedi, Dooku, Jedi Lost? Early?
Wow.
Early?
We can't do it early because it's out today.
I know. So why don't we just watch episode 9?
Let's go watch episode 9 together.
We're doomed.